Today I'm going to walk you through my 7-step formula to get clear on what you want in your life and set actionable goals. Goal setting is my bread and butter. I've gone the manifesting spiritual route. I've taken courses on goal setting. I've researched all of the science-based tools and protocols. I've experimented with my own goals over the last 5 years, and I'm about to teach you everything I know. If you're new here, hi, my name is Cadence, and I'm so happy to have you. On this channel, I share and test evidence-based health and fitness tools so that we can reach our health goals together. Step 1, get focused. I like to get in a space that is brightly lit, ideally near a window, because there's some evidence that can help us to focus a little bit. I also like to make a coffee or a tea, grab a snack, get some water, get situated. We might be here a while. If you feel yourself starting to drift or get unfocused during this session, here's a tool that you can use to refocus yourself during this session or really at any time. Stare at one spot on your workspace, so that could be your notebook or your computer, anything like that, for 30 to 60 seconds without moving your eyes from that one spot, and that helps to kick some of the systems for focus into gear. Step 2, clear your mind. I like to start these types of sessions with a brain dump list. So anything that might be nagging on me or could distract me while I'm working through this session, I just do a massive brain dump, so I have a big to-do list of everything I know I need to take care of. If there's anything that feels urgent, I'll set a reminder on my calendar or on my phone. I also like to keep a sticky note or a pad of paper next to me so that if anything comes to mind during the session, I can write it down so I won't forget it, but I won't let it distract me from what I'm working on. The key is we are not going to do anything with this brain dump to-do list that we've created. We're just going to keep it off to the side to come back to later so that we can really focus on goal setting and getting clear. Step 3 is to imagine your dream life. And this is definitely the most fun part of the session. During the goal setting process, science tells us that visualizing ourselves crossing the finish line and achieving that goal is a really powerful tool to motivate us. So now we're gonna imagine our dream life and our dream version of ourselves. So I like to use a version of myself 5 years from now to kind of write a blueprint for the goals and habits I need to start working on now to eventually get there. Now I'm gonna walk you through tons of different prompts that you can think about to get some ideas for creating this dream version of yourself. What would your morning routine look like? What would your workday look like? Do you work for yourself? Do you work at your dream company? What role do you work in? What energy do you bring to your work? How do you feel doing it? What are your finances like? Do you own investments, a home, a car? Do you have a large savings account or earn a certain income? What's your health and fitness like? What foods are you eating? What are you physically capable of? Could you run a marathon or lift a certain amount of weight? What is your exercise routine like? What are your skills and hobbies? Can you speak a new language? Do you know how to paint, or can you play the guitar? How do you spend your evenings after work? With family or friends? What daily habits have you built? Do you journal, meditate? What have you achieved? What are you like? What qualities do you have or not have? There are a lot of different approaches to imagining your dream self and dream life and getting different ideas for how you can get there and what you want this life to look like. Thinking through these prompts could take you 10 minutes, it could take you a couple hours, or maybe it's something that you want to chip away at slowly over a couple of weeks. None of these is right or wrong, and I've done each of them depending on how I'm feeling. I want to give you some tools that you can use to think through these prompts and really get inspired. The first is to get moving. The brain pathway involved in creative thinking is the same pathway that is involved in us moving our limbs. And there's some scientific evidence that we can engage in creative thinking more easily when our body is moving. And I find personally that this holds up in my life. When I'm out on a walk or doing some kind of movement and I let my mind wander, that's often when I come up with my best ideas for videos or my best creative solutions to problems I'm facing in my life, whether it's health, personal, career, anything like that. If you want some inspiration, you can try taking a walk or getting a little bit of movement in, and during that time kind of letting your mind wander. So trying not to be distracted with like talking to someone, listening to a podcast, or listening to distracting music. Just really let your mind kind of wander. The next tool is to get creative. If you feel like ideas aren't flowing, I highly recommend testing out this creativity meditation protocol that I have tried quite a few times and become pretty obsessed with. This can be helpful anytime that you need a creative solution to a problem. All you do is set a timer for like 5 or 10 minutes, really as long as you're comfortable with, but I like to shoot for that range. And you just let your thoughts flow freely and notice them as they come and go. It's called open monitoring meditation. I found that this is how I get almost all of my good ideas, is either on a walk or when I am sitting in silence purposefully. Sometimes I'll put on some like light spa background music, but over time, this process can actually also help you to become more creative overall. You can also think about people you admire in your life who inspire you and think about what their potential answers would be to this question. The last tool is getting quiet. So I mentioned meditation or movement. I've also found it really helpful to journal on it or just give yourself some time and space to think and sort of get new ideas. It could be as simple as turning off the music or podcasts or radio in your car and just sitting in silence and letting your thoughts thoughts flow. If you're anything like me, you are constantly consuming some type of content no matter what you're doing. Purposefully turning off some of that external noise and giving yourself some time to process and think. A lot of really amazing ideas can come from that. If you've tried all these tools and nothing is coming to you, don't worry. When this happens to me, I like to just take the day off and come back to it another day because some days I'm just not in the flow, and that's okay. Our next step is going to be formatting our goals. We're going to take this dream version of ourselves, translate it into some goals, and write those goals down. There are some evidence-based rules for effective goal setting that we're going to walk through briefly here. One of them is that our goals should be specific with an action plan. It increases our likelihood of actually reaching these goals significantly. So rather than saying get healthier, we should be saying things like run 3 times a week, go to the gym 3 times a week, have a protein shake every day. Instead of saying drink more water, we should be saying drink 80 ounces of water per day and add 5 ounces for every 15 minutes of exercise. So as you can see from these examples, there can be multiple components or milestones of larger goals. For example, if your dream self owns a home, then your goal could be to buy a home, but of course there's lots of milestones along the way. First would be getting a job that pays well enough to be able to afford it. Then it would be saving up the down payment, getting pre-approved, finding a house you like, and then eventually buying it, right? With your goals, instead of focusing on restricting things like don't have any ice cream this year or something like that, try to think about adding things in, because there's something that happens to us mentally when we start to restrict on ourselves that makes it so much more enticing to do that thing. So for example, if your goal is to eat less ice cream, which certainly not a goal that I will be going after this year, but if your goal is to eat less ice cream, then rather than saying don't eat any ice cream, your goal could be have Halo Top instead of regular ice cream. So trying to think of adding things in rather than saying don't do this, don't do that. Try to replace the habit with the better habit that you're trying to do. Next, we are going to prioritize our goals. So we're going to take this big, huge list of goals that we just created and ruthlessly prioritize. It's really important at this point to have a strong why for your goals. So when you're prioritizing, think about why you want to do these things. And something I've been thinking about a lot recently is the difference between coming from a place of self-hatred and shame versus a place of self-love. For example, over the last couple months, I have been experiencing a lot of changes in my routine and really wanting to start waking up earlier, going to bed earlier, and having a better morning routine. And for about 2 full months, I really struggled with going to bed earlier, waking up earlier, and getting things going in the morning. I would procrastinate on my workouts and starting my work day and things like that. And I realized part of my problem was that I was coming from such a place of self-hatred. Like, these are some of the thoughts that would go through my mind when I had a lazy morning and I didn't get straight up to get to the gym or go to work or whatever, when I went to bed late, when I woke up late, whatever. I would think, wow, you're such a loser. It's so simple to do this. Why can't you just do it every day? You keep failing at this. It's not that hard. You've done it before. Why can't you do it now? And that really just didn't work for me, honestly. I just never stuck to it. I would maybe have one good day and then fall back to my old habits. I've really changed my perspective the last few weeks and had so much more success when I've come from a place of, okay, I love myself enough to have a strict routine that makes me feel good. I want to be able to achieve my goals. So to do that, I need to prioritize getting straight into work in the morning when I'm fresh, when I know that I'm like cognitively at my sharpest. For example, with fitness, I know this is a huge one. A lot of people have aesthetic goals, which there's nothing wrong with, of course, but approaching it from a place of I love myself enough to be the fittest I've ever been, to be in the best shape, to understand what that does for your longevity, how you feel. There's so many different benefits besides how you look, versus for me personally, it's always really hard to stick to when it's purely aesthetic. On those mornings where I wake up to my alarm and I'm incredibly tired, the idea of having a 6-pack is not enough to get me out of bed, but the idea of prioritizing my health for my well-being is enough, at least most of the time. The exciting news about this list of goals is that you can always come back to it in the future and keep chipping away at things that are important to you. So try not to worry too much about the stuff that's getting deprioritized or moved to the bottom of the list, because we can always come back to it in the future. Next, we are going to pick our goals. And this is the hardest part. We need to pick 1 to 3 goals to focus on, because having too many goals has been shown to be counterproductive to our success. If you're like me and you love goals and you love self-improvement, this sucks to hear, but trust me, it'll be so worth it to give yourself the time to focus and give yourself a fighting chance to actually achieve these goals, versus having like 20 random goals and then you achieve none of them by the end of the year, which I've been there and that feels terrible. Like I mentioned before, these goals will very likely have milestones, checkpoints along the way, or maybe some smaller goals within them, and that's totally fine. In fact, that's probably optimal, but we do need to try to stay focused on between 1 and 3 core main goals, even if they do have a couple of different components or milestones each. Don't be sneaky here and use really broad goals with tons of sub goals to try to sneak in some more goals. I see you, I know what you're doing. Like for example, if your goal to get healthy includes changing how you sleep, when you wake up in the morning, how often you work out, the types of workouts you're doing, your nutrition, your water, like you're being sneaky, okay? That's a lot of goals wrapped up into one goal. So don't go layering that on top of 2 or 3 other goals, okay? Let's be reasonable here. There's a bit more of an art to this than a science, but essentially we want to give our full focus to the things that are most important to us right now and know that once we've achieved those things, we can move on to the other things on our list and then pour our full focus into those things and just kind of like keep that process moving. An important thing when you're choosing your goals to prioritize is that these goals can't be too easy or too hard. It increases our odds of achieving our goals significantly if we pick goals that aren't too easy or too hard. They're things that maybe we can do, maybe we can't, somewhere in the middle. This is counter to what a lot of people say. A lot of people recommend starting with small goals to get the ball rolling. The science tells us that goals that are too small or too big don't kick our systems into gear to get our body ready to go out and achieve those goals, which is a really important part of achieving what we want. I found it's really fun to create a vision board or some kind of visualization exercise of yourself achieving those goals, becoming that person you want to be. Vision boards are great for this if you like them. Sometimes I find it hard to really feel connected when I'm looking at other people's photos, other people's accomplishments. So I find it is sometimes more powerful to just visualize myself achieving those goals. And the last tip is to get started. This video you're watching is part of a 3-part series. The other parts will focus on executing and achieving your goals and some really surprising reasons why you may not be achieving your goals and how you can avoid those mistakes. Those videos will be linked down below once they have gone live, so you can check out the other parts in the series and achieve everything you want this year. If you're watching this real time, I'm doing a 12 days of fitness series where I'm posting 25 short videos and 12 long videos in the month of December, focused on all aspects of health and fitness. I'd love to have you come tag along. If you found this video helpful, the best way to support my channel is give this video a like and hit subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and I will see you next time.